Jill Ireland tells the scary truth about David McCallum. Divorce. Jill Ireland was born Jill Dorothy Ireland on April 24, 1936 in London, England. She grew up being naturally graceful and loving art, which would later make her famous in public and private life. From when she was young, she loved the performing arts. She learned to dance when she was little, and it was through this that she found the hard work and feelings that would later make her acting better. What made her special even back then was not just her beauty but her drive to make it in a business that often needed buffness and softness. Ireland started her career in the mid-1950s, first showing up in British movies where her amazing looks and grace quickly got people's attention. Her early work had small parts in movies like Simon and Laura 1955, and she slowly got more famous in the movie world. As her career grew, she became known for her ability to do different things, moving easily from funny roles to more serious ones. She was just as good in movies and television, appearing in many different types of shows, including action, drama, and westerns. One of the most important parts in Jill Ireland's personal and work life came through her marriages. Her first marriage was to actor David McCallum in 1957. McCallum, later famous for his role in The Man from Unsickle, shared with Ireland the hard times and good times of life in Hollywood. The couple had 3 sons together, though one of them, Jason, sadly died when he was grown up, a terrible loss to Ireland's family. Even though their marriage ended in 1967, Ireland and McCallum stayed connected through their children and shared memories. In 1968, Jill Ireland married Charles Bronson, one of Hollywood's most famous action stars. Their relationship was not just a marriage, but also a team in both life and movies. Bronson and Ireland appeared in many movies together, including Breakheart Pass, 1975, Love and Bullets, 1979, and Death Wish 2, 1982. Their chemistry on screen showed the real-life love they shared, with Bronson often saying his wife was his support and best friend. Their marriage lasted until she died, lasting over 20 years of shared wins, struggles, and complete love. While Ireland had a successful career, her story is most powerfully remembered because of her brave and very public fight with cancer. In 1984, she was told she had breast cancer, a sickness that was at that time still kept secret and shameful. Instead of hiding away, Jill Ireland chose to face her illness openly, determined to use her fame to help others and support people going through the same thing. She wrote books, Life Wish, A Personal Story of Survival, 1987, and Lifelines, 1989, in which she honestly wrote about her journey, the painful treatments, her fears, and her determination to live. Her honesty inspired countless women who felt alone in their own fights, giving them not only knowledge but also hope and strength. Ireland's helping went far beyond words. She became a spokesperson for the American Cancer Society and worked really hard to promote early detection, research, and better treatment for breast cancer. Her openness in talking about the physical and emotional hurt of the disease broke barriers at a time when celebrity sickness was rarely talked about in public. She turned her personal pain into a force for good, showing incredible courage and caring. Despite her health problems, Jill Ireland never lost her love for life or devotion to her family. She and Charles Bronson built a mixed family of 7 children, and she stayed deeply involved in their lives. Friends and co-workers often said she was warm, elegant, and extremely loyal, someone who carried herself with dignity. Even in the hardest moments, Jill Ireland was not only known as a graceful actress and the long-term partner of action star Charles Bronson, but also as a woman who lived a life full of deep personal struggles, moments of strength, and painful truths that she finally chose to share openly. One of the hardest chapters in her life was her divorce from British actor David McCallum, who had become famous as a heartthrob in the 1960s television series The Man from Unsickle. Their marriage, which started in 1957, at first seemed to have everything needed for a glamorous Hollywood love story. They were young, good-looking, and getting better in their careers. To people watching, they looked like the perfect couple. But as Jill Ireland later told everyone, the truth behind closed doors was far different. When talking honestly about their divorce from McCallum, Jill did not hold back from describing the painful falling apart of their relationship. It was a nightmare I could not wake up from, she said in one interview, explaining that the end of her marriage was not simply about 2 people growing apart, but about layers of emotional pain that left scars. She described at times of intense loneliness, even though being married to someone who was loved worldwide. The strange thing, as she explained, was that while millions of fans saw McCallum as the charming, smooth spy on television, she often saw only distance and coldness at home. I felt like I was invisible, Jill said. It was like each man I had married disappeared into a role, and I no longer knew who he was when he walked through the door. Another source of pain Jill told about was how they stopped talking to each other, which became so bad that she started to feel trapped. She remembered how fights would go late into the night, often leaving her crying and wondering what went wrong. We lived under the same roof, but it felt like we were living in two different worlds. She said, the feeling of being alone got worse as time went on, and what had once been tender love between them turned into anger. For Jill, the emotional hurt was terrible. She described waking up each morning with a sick feeling in her stomach, dreading the silence or the mean words that might come later in the day. Jill also told everyone that one of the worst horrors of the divorce was how it affected their children. She and McCallum had 3 sons together, 2 biological and 1 adopted, and she admitted that the tension in the house spread into their daily lives. I worried all the time about what this was doing to the boys, she explained. Children are smart. They can feel when love is gone, and they can feel danger too. That knowledge haunted me. The guilt of not being able to protect their children from the falling apart marriage made her heart heavy. Making the personal pain worse was the public watching that came with painfulness. Tabloids guessed and lie about the cause of their breakup. Some saying cheating, others hinting at egos that couldn't get along. Jill, however, said that the truth was simpler but more painful. We were breaking each other down instead of building each other up. I couldn't breathe in that marriage anymore. The courage it took to walk away was huge, especially during a time when divorce was still thought of as scandalous. Especially for a public person, people judged me without knowing the truth, she said. They called me cold, unfaithful, or selfish, but only I knew the nights I cried myself to sleep. Finally, Jill found new love with Charles Bronson, who became not only her partner, but also her support through some of life's darkest storms, including her long and brave battle with breast cancer. But she never pretended that the scars of her divorce had gone away completely. The past never goes away, she thought. It shapes you sometimes painfully, but you have to learn to live with it and not let it destroy you. Her honesty about the horrors of her divorce from David McCallum was a reflection of Jill Ireland's brave approach to life. She believed in facing pain rather than hiding it, and by doing so, she inspired many who were facing their own broken marriages or family struggles. Jill's willingness to put into words their feelings of sadness, guilt, and final survival gave her story a realness that touched deeply with others. I want people to know that even when you feel trapped, there is a way forward, she once said, by telling about the pain she went through during and after her divorce. Jill Ireland did more than just tell a painful personal story. She gave voice to the hidden struggles of countless women who felt silenced by what society expected. Her story remains a reminder that in the Hollywood glamour and carefully planned public images, there are human beings who go through heartbreak, make difficult choices, and find the strength to begin again. Jill Ireland's life took a big turn in 1984 when she was told she had breast cancer, a terrible disease that would shape the last chapter of her life. At a time when talks about cancer were often kept private or covered in shame, Ireland chose a path of openness and courage rather than hide in silence. She used her diagnosis as a way to help others by sharing her deeply personal journey. She wrote down the physical and emotional cost of the disease, the impact on her family, and the challenges of going through tough treatments. Ireland's willingness to write about her experiences changed her into more than just a beloved actress. She became a public voice for countless women facing the same battle. Her first 2 books, written after her diagnosis, gave the world a rare look into the struggles and wins of living with breast cancer. They were not simply life story accounts, but rather explorations of survival, strength, and hope. Through her writing, she offered comfort to other patients who often felt alone in their struggles. And she also taught the general public about the realities of the illness. The books combined honesty about her suffering with an inspiring determination to keep moving forward even when facing overwhelming odds. By the time of her death, she had started work on a 3rd book, showing not only her passion for writing, but also her never-ending commitment to raising awareness and encouraging others. The Unfinished Manist showed how she stayed active and determined until her final days, refusing to allow her illness to silence her voice. Ireland's helping did not stop at writing. She became a spokeswoman for the American Cancer Society, giving her celebrity platform to one of the most important causes of her time. She spoke with truth as someone who personally understood the hardships of cancer treatments, and this gave her words weight and believability. She became a beacon of hope and courage, inspiring women to seek early detection, to face their diagnosis without shame, and to push for better treatment options. Ireland also took her fight beyond the world of inspiration. She became involved in practical activism. In 1988, she appeared before the US Congress to talk about the huge costs of medical care for cancer patients. By putting a human face to the issue, she helped lawmakers better understand the many problems that families went through when facing long-term illnesses. Her testimony was seen as groundbreaking, as few public figures had been so honest about the connection of health and money burdens. Her bravery and speaking skills were recognized at highest levels when President Ronald Reagan gave her the American Cancer Society's Courage Award, honoring her as a symbol of strength and helping. Sadly, despite her determination, Jill Ireland lost her battle with breast cancer in 1990 at her Malibu, California home. She was only 54 years old, and her death was mourned deeply in Hollywood and beyond. Her funeral showed both her dignity and her unique spirit. She was cremated and her ashes were placed in a walking cane, a symbolic gesture that showed her journey and strength. Years later, when her husband Charles Bronson died in 2003, he arranged for the cane to be buried with him at Brownsville Cemetery in Vermont. This deeply personal act made sure they two would be united even in death, their bond extending beyond life itself, in a gesture of lasting love and devotion. Ireland's contributions to the entertainment industry were not forgotten either. In recognition of her career and the legacy she left behind, she was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 6,751 Hollywood Boulevard. The star made permanent her achievements in film and television, placing her among the group of Hollywood's most celebrated talents. For admirers and fans, it became not only a tribute to her career, but also a reminder of her extraordinary strength in the face of illness. Her story also lived on through dramatization. In 1991, just a year after her passing, Jill Ireland's life was brought to television audience in the made-for-TV film Reason for Living, The Jill Ireland Story. Famous actress Jill Clayburgh portrayed Ireland, capturing her spirit and determination. The film drew its story from Ireland's memoir Lifelines, and although it got mixed reviews from critics, it held meaning for viewers who admired Ireland's life and struggles. Ireland herself had been listed after death as an executive producer, a final testament to her hands-on involvement in shaping how her story will be told. To embody the role, Clayburgh immersed herself in Ireland's world, carefully reading Lifelines and listening to Ireland's recorded interviews, though she had never personally met Ireland. Clayburgh approached the portrayal with respect and seriousness, determined to honor her memory. Through her writing, advocacy, and the retelling of her story, Jill Ireland transformed her private battle into a public legacy of strength. She not only left behind a rich career in film, but also a powerful example of how to face life's most difficult trials with honesty, courage, and dignity.